Hello, everyone. I'm Olivia Simon with FOLCS, the Forum on Life, Culture, and Society. And tonight we're bringing you a very special event, a conversation with children's entertainment sensation, the Wiggles. We are so excited about the opportunity to speak with them and to talk more about their cultural impact and hear about their latest developments. But before we do, I have a few quick housekeeping announcements for our community. Um, we are excited to be coming to you from our Folks studio on our website. You'll see a couple of buttons below the stream. You'll see our donate button where you can make a contribution to our mission in support of our programming. And you'll see our send to a friend button where you can share the stream with friends, family, anyone that you think would be interested in following along this conversation. And I guess that's it. So now, without further ado, I'm thrilled to tell you a little bit about our special guests before we introduce them one by one. So the Wiggles are one of the world's most popular children's entertainment groups with billions of music streams and YouTube views, live shows selling out annually across the world. They have a new parenting podcast out called Wiggle Talk that combines expert parenting advice with a real glimpse into the lives of the Wiggles members who are parents. There was also a documentary released last year that chronicles their story and how they've impacted the global music industry, which I highly recommend checking out. That was sort of a cultural moment in my household. And it's on Amazon Prime, and I think really captures the spirit and essence of the group. And just announced one really exciting update is that they are going on one of their biggest global tours where they'll be traveling across the UK, the US, and Canada next year. So don't miss that. But most importantly, when it comes to the Wiggles, they are a children's entertainment group with a mission that really puts integrity and a responsibility to their audience and a real belief in the power of music at the heart of their content. And I think that's never been lost on their audience, the people who watch them, and seems to be a big reason for their lasting success and influence over time. And the last thing I'll say before I introduce them individually is that we're also in a very vibrant era for the Wiggles, where they're helping to bring up the next generation of kids and are focusing on truly representing and reflecting the audience before them. So let's get into our introductions. 5 members of the Wiggles are with us today. We have Anthony Field, original founding member of the group. If you could give a little wave. Great to see you, Anthony. And I love the wiggling fingers. Next, we have Simon Pryce, the Red Wiggle. We'll just wait for him to pop up on screen. Good to see you, Simon.
Olivia.
And next we have Lachlan Gillespie. Thank you so much for being here, Lachlan.
Thanks,
and
Olivia.
Then great to see you. And then we have Tsehay Hawkins, who I believe was the youngest to ever join the Wiggles. I think she joined at 16. And finally, we have Lucia Field, who, along with Tsehay, is really leading the next generation of young Wiggles fans. So welcome to you both as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will start on a little bit of a personal note. I was just saying this off camera, but it is really surreal to be here with you all. I grew up watching the original Wiggles lineup with my 2 younger sisters, and I know my parents were just as invested, across the catchy songs and the world that you guys were succeeding in building, even from the early days. My family were American, but most of my childhood was actually abroad in the UK and France. So I think we're a good example of how much reach you guys have had geographically, and also of the staying power in terms of touching multiple generations and continuing to live on in so many households. So I thought we could start with Anthony on this as one of the original members. I know there's been a lot of thoughtfulness behind the Wiggles as a project, and it must be really special to kind of see how many different people you've reached over the years across ages and backgrounds and cultures. So I'm wondering what that has looked like for you as the one who's really helmed the ship through a lot of different stages and iterations of what the Wiggles has looked like.
Oh, it's been an amazing journey. The Wiggles started at Macquarie University, actually. Myself, Murray, and Greg, early childhood teachers. That's what we qualified as when we graduated from university. And I had an idea to make a children's album, of music, quality music, that had an educational and developmental approach to the music making. And I think over the years, we've always kept the ethos of child-centered philosophy, which is think about what age are the children, what developmental stage might they be when they're listening to this song, or this theatre, and is it interactive? It is in their world, and over the years, that's driven us. Olivia, we've stayed with that, and I think that's been why we've been so successful.
Yeah. I want to come back to a couple of things that you just mentioned about sort of your founding mission and how you've carried that through the years and through a lot of different stages. But I also just want to ask Tsehay and Lucia quickly, as relatively new members of the group, kind of pose the same question to you. Like, were you surprised by how much the Wiggles have resonated with people through generations, and the way that you all as a group almost become part of the family for many people?
Yeah, well, technically, I am literally part of the Wiggles family. I'm Anthony's daughter. And, joining the group, you can't really explain it. I guess the key to the longevity of the band has been the love for the job and the children, and it's almost like a responsibility that we have, to bring those kids, I guess, that education, that love of music. And that's always been there. You want to?
Yeah, I think, Luch, Anthony's her dad, but I also grew up just like you watching. We both did growing up watching the Wiggles, so we can understand how it feels watching it firsthand. But I think, like Anthony said, it all stems from their knowledge and early childhood teaching, and I think it's so amazing that over the last 30 years that everyone's been able to join into the group and learn from Anthony, and we've been able to kind of teach in our own kind of way. And
it's a constant evolution, really, and we're still evolving.
You're already hitting on so many things I want to ask about, but I'll start with the early childhood education piece, which is a really important piece behind the origin story of the Wiggles, as all of you just mentioned. And Anthony, as you said, you were studying early childhood education at university, and then you decided to make an album for kids. So the story really started with this dual passion for music and to educate, not just education, but to do it actively. And so I want to ask, kind of from the context of what we're seeing now and how maybe life has evolved since the Wiggles first began, with all of the content that's out there. And this is really the hook for us behind this program, because at FOLCS, we really try to take a deeper look into the big issues that are affecting us as a society. And so we've seen how educating young children in a responsible way and inspiring a real love of learning has become more important than ever. So I'm wondering how you think about that responsibility today.
We have a responsibility to evolve with our audience, because when we started all those years ago, the cutting edge technology was a VHS video cassette that you'd put in a player and you'd press the button. And well, from the start, we always wanted to be interactive. We wanted the child to be an active viewer, an active listener, not sit there passively. And of course, these days, it's a different world. Parents have a challenge now they've got the small screens, of actually getting the children away from the screens, or if they're watching, get them involved physically and interacting with it. So it's come a long way. Early childhood entertainment has evolved, and there's a lot more thought put into it, I think, and it's beautiful quality, but it's just these days we have so many more challenges for parents, and that's where our wonderful friends Simon and Lockie with their podcast are helping out, because you guys are offering advice for parents and getting advice yourself as parents, aren't you? Like that's one of the challenges that we didn't have, because in those days, mum or dad would put the video in and then turn it off and go, okay, out you go and kick a football or kick a baseball, as they play in America.
Yeah.
What do you think, Simon? What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, I think there's a few different things. I mean, firstly, as individuals within the Wiggles, we're very fortunate because we can bring our own skills and who we are to being a Wiggle, and I think that really helps with the honesty and the way we talk to our audience and the children, engage with them. And on top of that, all the learnings that we've learned from Anthony and the original Wiggles with the early childhood training and understanding of children's development, and that then holds you in good stead when you're performing and when you're creating content. And then on top of that, then when you become a dad, like I have over recent years, it takes on a whole different world as well. And then we felt, well, we're always engaging with our audience, with the children, but now we have the ability to talk to the parents as well at a level that now I understand, which before, not being a parent, you actually don't really fully understand. So I think that's where this kind of the evolution of the Wiggles, how it continues to evolve. So we've had the trust of the parents, and now we're able to talk to the parents in a way which we can all have a conversation, because we're all going through the same things with our toddlers, great things, hard things, all those sort of challenges you face. And it's been a really, really interesting time. And I've learned, and I know Lockie has as well, through doing the podcast, it's kind of a bit selfish in a way because we're getting all this incredible insight into all these wonderful experts in how to, how to help navigate, these toddler years.
Yeah, but I think that's probably where you actually end up creating something that resonates with the most people, because you're doing it from a really genuine place that's coming from not only sort of the larger mission, just to parents or create a supportive space for parents, but also to create a space that you would like to see in the world, maybe something that was missing for you when you became a parent. So I think that's really interesting. And Simon, I wanted to actually go back to something that you were just speaking about, but how does being a parent, or especially being a new parent, how has that maybe changed the way that you think about your place in the Wiggles? And has it significantly changed how you think about the work that you're doing in having your own children in mind?
Yeah, Olivia, it really does. I've got a whole different perspective now on the work that we do as Wiggles, because I am now a parent, and that's on many different levels. It's from the basics of actually the energy it takes as a parent to get a child to a concert on time. And all that involves with that on that level itself. You take it for granted that we've got a show on and everyone's going to turn up, but for a family to get there, and to get there on time, is a massive undertaking. So that in itself, but then add on top of that, the understanding developmentally, when you have a child and for the first time, when you sing "Everybody Clap" and your child claps 3 times, and that's a milestone, a developmental milestone that a child goes through. And when you as a parent see that and feel that, it's just gives you an incredible sense of joy. And I just have this. I do have a much bigger appreciation for what we do now being a parent, and I think because of the joy and also the difficulties that you face, and the Wiggles, because they have come from a very honest place and a love from the beginning, and that is maintained. I think that's why it still resonates, and why we're able to talk with you today from this perspective and this point of view. So it's really, I'm so proud to be a part of this.
Yeah. I think a lot of parents feel the same way, I would imagine. I think just with the very genuine place that you've been creating your content and your music for so long, I think you've done a real service to a lot of parents. And I say that not from the perspective of a parent, but I know that my parents felt that way. And I also think just now with the trove of information and tips and advice that you've put out as this sort of new branch of what you're doing with the podcast, and also even I've seen videos on TikTok. I think it was Katerina who recently posted a video of her doing tummy time with her baby and rolling her over. And it's all very accessible, and it can be watched, in short form and long form, and just having this, very accessible base of information, I think is you're really contributing positively to children and parents alike. So
I think
I
that's
also
what Anthony was saying before. Oh, sorry, Olivia. How the
no,
world
go
can change
ahead.
with the way we view things, and that's what Anthony was saying before. Like, we now understand that you have to be on socials, you have to be short form, long form to be able to reach our audience, to engage with our audience in the way that we want to, and that's learnings for us and what we're going through and what we're understanding. And that video that Katarina did is a great example of how you can reach your audience in a really meaningful way, which someone watching is going to get real value out of it, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess you also just don't know, in terms of parents' schedules being so hectic and so different from each other, what type of content will make sense for their lifestyle. And I think that's also just extremely smart that you have all of these options and resources for parents to tap into, regardless of what platform they're on and how much time they have. So maybe I can direct this to Lockie, but just continuing on the subject of parents, I think it's really fascinating how you're creating this very interactive content for kids, but you're also encouraging parents and caregivers to participate with their children. And I've seen that message through your website and through your YouTube videos. I think I read in one of the Wiggle and Learn videos, I think that's a common thread that is referenced. And so I'm wondering, how you see your content playing into parenting styles today, especially with the overwhelming amount of content that is out there. And especially from your perspective as a new parent and someone who's experiencing this, and going through those changes, maybe with your own kids.
I mean, I've always loved, when the original Wiggle started, what made them so successful and so watched, particularly in America in those big days, was how they spoke to children. And I've learned that with my own children, that how fun that you can sit and watch and enjoy the content with them. That's what the Wiggles have always done, have made content that both parents and children can watch and participate in together. And the children will watch mum and dad or grandpa and grandma, dance around and enjoy the music too. And that then everyone's enjoying it together. The Wiggles music, I don't think is ever annoying to listen to. It's always, real instruments. We play everything live. And it's just kids learn so much about instruments too. They want to sing with us. They want to go, oh, what's Anthony playing? He's playing 200 different instruments, like he does, from the banjo to the bagpipes to guitar. I think you can get so much out of it. And I think that's such a lovely thing that parents can then share with their children, rather than just put on a screen and, you're in the background, mum and dad going, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear this song again. We kind of hope that the parents actually really enjoy it. And we get some, wonderful feedback. We've just done a massive song called Bin Night, which over in America, I think, is like trash can night when you put it out. But that's gotten such wonderful feedback from parents and kids, because it's so real for them. It's like, what color bin do we put out tonight in Australia? What do we put out on the street? But the parents can really have a laugh at it, as well as the kids, loving it. So I think we always try to do that with parents and kids in mind.
I thought that was a really nice point, Lockie, that you were making about kind of the music driving the project and being at the heart of the Wiggles content, being sort of the hook for kids, and to kind of get them really immersed in the content that you guys are creating. And I know there's been a lot of research into the positive emotional and physical and mental development that music offers for children. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about music as a catalyst for learning, and why it's such an effective tool in engaging children, both through the screen and in person at your live show.
Yeah, we've talked about that on the podcast. Sorry, mate.
Oh, good.
No, Lockie, you go.
No,
I was jumping in and I shouldn't have been. This is what we've got to do. We've got to learn taking turns. You go,
Okay,
my
we
friend.
have so much time. You can interrupt each other as much as you need to.
You go ahead.
Anthony's at a lot better spot to talk about this. I was just going to say we had a great conversation about music and how incredibly big part it plays in development of children and how it can play such a big role. One of the episodes was, simple things from singing at home, and kids learn so much through rhymes and simple little word plays, and even just starting with rhythms and not necessarily singing an actual melody, but just clapping and saying a simple little few bars of something. You can do anything around the house to make that so fun for children. It plays such a massive role.
To Anthony.
I was going to do the teacher talk, which was music. The reason music is so important for preschool and primary school and all levels of school, it's crucial in the development of a child, global development. So cognitive development. Music helps it enhance cognitive skills such as memory. You have to remember the words of the song, or a little bit older, you've got to remember the notes. Problem solving, learning melodies, rhyming, as Lockie said, language skills, new vocabulary, rhyming, phonetics, language patterns. It's emotional well-being. A child becomes more confident if they've I learned how to clap my hands to this song. I've learned how to play the drums along with this song. They can express how they're feeling through the music, through dance, which I'm sure Lucia and Tsehay will tell us about. Also, social skills with music. You sit in a group, and every child has a turn singing, and then something we learnt just a little bit earlier, that's turn taking. It's not my turn to butt in and get in front of Lockie. But Olivia, music is so important for children and for families. And with the dance, I'm going to go, Tsehay and Lucia, tell us about how you can express yourself and how you've seen children express themselves through their dance.
I definitely think it's very similar to music, as dancing really builds a child's self-esteem. I was an extremely shy kid, and when I was dancing, I was a completely different person. And it helps with memory as well, and learning those counts. And dance is it's such an expressive thing to do. I mean, if kids are feeling the music, they'll wobble around like this, or they start jumping, or doing the movements,
wiggle,
and
of course.
they'll wiggle. Exactly.
Literally, I agree with Luch. I'm probably on the other side. I was a very energetic and confident child, but and that's why Wiggles really helped, because it made you learn how to dance to things, how to relate things in Wiggles songs to things in real life. I think with music, how repetitive fruit salad is. Every time I see fruit salad, even as an adult before I joined Wiggles, I would be like, hey, yummy, yummy. But I think with dance, I think with dance, it's a way that you can communicate with others without using words. It's definitely through expression. Great for getting your body moving. And I think there's so many different ways. Like Lucia is an amazing ballerina, and it's really lovely and light, and it's really amazing with technique. And then I'm probably more on the energetic, crazy, wiggly child side that loves to just move. And I think that gives children a way to feel comfortable. Like
it's also like a great form of discipline as well. Going to a dance class, or especially ballet, you learn to wear a leotard, put your hair up away from your face, to wear the right ballet shoes and correct ballet tights. And it really does set up a good foundation for young kids if they start learning that. And I still use all of those things that I learned from when I was 4 up until now. So it really is such an important thing for kids to learn.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I know there's a little lag, so jump in.
That's right. No, that's right. I mean, that's the beauty of the Wiggles. We introduce all types of music, all types of dance, all types of singing, all types of styles, and that just gives children, an insight into all different forms of performance, which is really lovely.
And what Simon's saying there, and something which Tsehay really has helped us with, but music also brings cultural awareness to children. So if you're exposure to different types of music from different parts of the world or different traditions or cultures, that promotes, I guess, cultural appreciation and understanding. In the original Wiggles, we did a song from the Torres Strait Islands, which is way up north in Australia, and the Torres Strait Islanders did a beautiful song called Tabanaba, and that song went all around the world. And Christine Anu, who taught us the song, told us that her family and friends are so proud that people in the United States, people in Japan, got to see and hear a song and experience a song from their culture. Children, a lot of times at home, parents can be guilty, and we've all can be guilty of this, of putting on the radio in the car and just playing music for children that doesn't cover a broad spectrum. But children are so open to all types of music. But recently, Tsehay wrote a beautiful song about her home country of Ethiopia. And it's such a beautiful song. And I know children are going to explore Ethiopia. And I also felt with Ethiopia, we get a lot of a lot of the only stories we ever hear about Ethiopia are, hunger and but this was a very positive. I'll let you tell Olivia about it, Tsehay, and what you brought. That's beautiful.
Well, thanks, Anto. Yeah, no, Anto's right. I think there is a massive stereotype on what people maybe in the Western world would see. Is they usually only think about Ethiopia, the famine, like unrest, things like that. But for children, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful country in Africa. There's amazing animals. It's beautiful culture, beautiful food. They love dancing and singing, and I think culture plays a really big part of Ethiopians. And I, like, growing up in Australia, I'm adopted, so I was born in Ethiopia. But I recently went over at the start of this year, and getting to see it firsthand, I could bring it back to the Wiggles, and I think shed a positive light on it, and it introduces children to a new culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I think it's really beautiful how a level of diversity was built kind of organically into the Wiggles from the beginning, where you exposed so many kids to different styles and genres of music, and now you've been very open and conscientious about continuing that and making it more intentional and kind of putting that a bit more front and center. And I think especially just the way that you've been very smart about transitioning new characters and new lineups into the world that you've built. It keeps engagement high, but it also prioritizes what people really care about seeing reflected back at them. And so it is doing a real service to your audience. And I think the story that you just told, Anthony and Tsehay, the way that you described it, that's very special, and it's a wonderful offering to your audience.
We found we have more cultural relevance to a lot more people now. We've got Lucia's mum is Greek, Katerina's parents are from Italy, Johnny is from the Philippines. His mum's from the Philippines. Evie's First Nation Australian, and of course Tsehay from Ethiopia. We found that our audience in Australia is more diverse to reflecting what they see on the screen now. And years ago, Jeff was probably the first Asian on television in Australia. He really broke some ground there, and I'm just very happy that we could look into the audience and we see African Australians there. We see Indigenous Australians, Greeks, all the whole world coming to see the Wiggles now, and it feels good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's oh no, I was
No,
just
jump
going
in,
to sing
Tsehay.
your
I
I
I
was just
forgot.
going to sing your praises more, so please, Tsehay, go ahead.
Oh no, all good. I think yeah, growing up, I don't know, everyone loved Jeff, and I think I was talking to Jeff when I first joined about, wow, you were really the first Wiggle of color, and he said at the time, it wasn't really a thing we thought about, but from the reaction, we realized how much it meant, and from the Wiggles going from the 4 men to adding the first ever female Wiggle to now having 4 females and 4 men being gender balanced, I think it's beautiful, and children really get to see what's in real life. I think what you see on screen tells you what society accepts. So I think if they can see it, they can be it. And yeah, I think it's a really, really beautiful thing. And yeah.
And Olivia, I think it's really good with age differences. What we've got Tsehay, who's now
Yes.
18, I think, but and of course Simon being the oldest member of the group.
You know what? You're not that far wrong, Anto.
Well, Simon, now you can take credit as a founding member if he's going to do that to you.
Yeah. Olivia, that's exactly what's happened now. I've hit the age where actually people think I'm an OG Wiggle. That these sort of
Really?
18-year-olds and say, "You were my childhood. I grew up with you." And I've got the grey hair. It's the wine. It's still happy. But you know what? It's. I'll take it.
Well, regardless, it's a compliment because the fact that you guys have been around for so long, it's been over 30 years now, and I also think I read recently that your 100th album came out, which is just, that must feel like such a milestone, and to have taken it through all of these different eras and to have been able to evolve so seamlessly, really, and to still have the audience that you do and the engagement that you do. It's a very cool thing.
Thanks, Olivia. I wonder if we could throw to Lockie with the piano there, and he could do a quick medley of some Wiggly songs.
Wow,
That'd be
I
all right.
wasn't prepared for that. Yes, we
Yeah.
would love that.
Do you want
Did
me
you
to
see how
go-
I did that,
go
Olivia?
OG?
That's called
was-
experience. You throw it to someone else.
You should be my co-moderator, Anthony. I see how you're directing the conversation.
No, Lockie, you
Olivia,
Okay,
do you
Lockie,
wanna-
take it away. Can we all do
Yeah.
some? Maybe
Do you wanna-
do like some jazz hands for an intro for him.
Do you want an OG song list?
Oh, you know what? It's up to you. However you want to curate this.
Oh, I'm gonna go OG for you.
Okay, we're going OG.
Can you hear this?
Wow.
Great. Sing along, guys. Toot toot chugga chugga big red car, travel near and we travel far. Toot toot chugga chugga big red car, we're gonna ride the whole day long. Hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, 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 potato. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. Yummy, 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 yummy. Fruit salad. And then the last one. Don't forget it's bin night tonight.
Yes,
Nice.
perfect.
Oh, that's all.
I could do the. Yes, bravo. I didn't think it would be didn't think anyone would want to hear me sing out loud, but I was mouthing the words. Wow, that was great. Thank you, Lockie, for that. That was awesome.
Welcome.
So let me go back to the music topic now that we've had that very special interlude. So I mentioned the 100th album, which is really exciting. And I'm wondering, kind of coming off of that milestone, having been around for a while, How do you approach making music that continues to be so engaging and, I guess, developmentally appropriate for children? Is there, do you have a sort of process and formula that you work within? Is it just kind of throwing ideas around and seeing, what makes sense as a group, or how do you kind of attack that today?
Do you want to join? Can I go? Can I go? Being very new to the group, we're still only getting our heads around writing songs, but I think the formula has been that the songs are catchy, repetitive, and a lot of them are built around simple themes like animals, colours, music, movement, which is all relatable to young children, and lots of interactive elements as well. So encouraging the children to dance and to sing and to follow along, and also our costumes and our set and having the instruments on screen too is really important because it's introducing those kids to new instruments and seeing how those instruments work. That's my perspective as a new Wiggle, but I'm going to throw it to whoever wants to continue that conversation.
Everything's new to a child. So, doing your shoelaces up or taking the bin out, like it's all new experiences. And as adults, we know it all. We take it all for granted. So it's putting our minds in the way a child thinks. And now, like we spoke about earlier, having a child myself now, Asher came home the other day and he's all talking about, I said this the other day to Anthony, about floor is lava, and all these kind of little concepts that we've come up with. So that then gives us some inspiration and insight into, into what children are talking about, what they're going through. And so we just kind of then put that into place. And sometimes we might theme an album, like, especially around sort of seasonal things like Christmas and that kind of thing. But we just kind of formed around what sort of things we'd like to resonate with a child, and new things we'd like to resonate with a child, which is where Bin Night came from, because that just comes at home. It's Bin Night, and now I'll say to Asher, "What night is it?" He goes, "It's Bin Night,"
Wow.
I just wanted to really quickly say, with the 100th album, I think I've said this before about Antov. I can give him a very quick wrap, but my personal musical knowledge and library wouldn't be any if I hadn't have done the Wiggles and met Anthony. I would, not know such a vast amount of songs that I've got to, adult songs and those sort of songs, but just how much you learn from that and how much we learned from writing it. It makes me so proud. I think, we've Simon and I this is our 12th year. I don't know how many of those 100 albums are from our little section of Wiggles, but 100 albums is quite remarkable. And I think that says a lot about Anthony's love of music, but also, every day he comes in with a new idea for a song. We can riff on it. I think this has probably been, in the 12 years, one of the most creative times we've had in the Wiggles.
It seems to me like the Wiggles are a very collaborative group, and I know Anthony, you are a big ideas guy. Loved kind of hearing about your process and everything in the documentary that you brought forward there, and it seemed very much in line with what Lachie just said, that you kind of walk into the room and you have a new idea. But that's not to say you're the only creative voice in the group. It seems like there's a lot of room for people to it seems like you guys are all very open to exploring the ideas that you might have. And so I'm curious if if you think that the way that you all operate with so much togetherness is maybe one of the more internal reasons as to why the Wiggles have been around for so long and have been able to have so much success.
Absolutely. I from the start, I was in a rock band before the Wiggles, and we used to tour around, and one of the guys wrote the songs, and we would tour around. And one time he got a royalty check for $80,000, and the rest of the band got $10. And it was a real lesson for me that everyone put in, but and everyone works, and we have to share it. So the Wiggles, in the original Wiggles, we decided from day one to split all the royalty songwriting, no matter who wrote the song.
Wow.
And we never had an argument about anything. It was just Greg, Jeff, Murray, and Anthony. And I feel the Wiggles now, myself and Lockie do most of the actual music, but everybody contributes, and Johnny too, but everybody contributes to the song, what's about, the feel of the song, the melodies, the arrangement. Do you know, Olivia, about going with strength? I've been encouraging Tsehay to write a hip-hop song. And I said, it's not that for children. It's not that strange. We were a rock and roll band when we started. Fruit Salad is just a rock and roll song, you know. Dum dum da dee doo doo dum dum da dee. So it's so high. If you can come up with something that is universal and connects with children with a hip hop beat, it'll be amazing. It'll be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, even just look at Hamilton. That's sorry, Tsehay.
Yes. No, you're right. Hamilton,
sorry,
exactly.
I was just gonna say, yeah, Hamilton. It's so huge here, and I actually just got to see it for the first time last year. But just the way that everyone was so locked in, seeing that kind of music in a medium where it just hadn't been done before. I think that could be a really cool opportunity for the Wiggles to bring something very different, or continue to bring something very different to the stage for young kids.
And can I say with that, and I'm not making a joke here, I could not write a hip hop song. It's not part of me. I don't want to speak for Lockie and Simon, but I could not. I can write songs with a folk background or a rock and roll background, but that wouldn't be authentic. Whereas Tsehay, Johnny, and Lucia have grown up with that music and they understand it. It's part of them. So it's very important, I think, that we don't fake writing songs that aren't true to us. Yeah,
Lucia and Tsehay.
I think that's also been so crucial to the evolution of the Wiggles, bringing in so many different styles of music. Continuously learning and performing them has really just been incredible. It's opened up a new market, really. Like, so many parents who didn't want to keep listening to the same Wiggles songs, they're now listening to these remixes and they love them. And it's really interesting seeing how kids respond to that as well in a way that we haven't really seen before. And I guess we'll continue to write the...
Yeah, absolutely. I think with how obviously Anto is so amazing, he's so progressive and so ready to embrace new styles. That's why the Wiggles is still going, because it keeps evolving with times. And like Lucia said, again, Johnny Pierce, he was in a band named Justice Crew, which is a boy band that was kind of hip hop in Australia, and he's got so much knowledge on that, and we're learning that as well from him. But absolutely. And I think with his with this album, at first we're like, I wonder if it's going to appeal to like the parents more, like Wiggle remixes of the OG songs. But we found that a lot of the audience, children, actually love it. They it's feel like they get to have a little rave disco party for the little ones.
I also think on top of that, there's a hint of nostalgia, but also this newness that's brought with the remixes. You know, nostalgia is so prevalent. I think it's in our generation too. I know, I just love it. With this, I think that's also why it appealed to so many parents and now new generation of kids as well.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, and the nostalgia side, and then also just the way that the Wiggles has come full circle for a lot of families, how had kids who've then grown up, and then either they're still still engaged somehow with the Wiggles community, or it at least kind of hasn't left their brains, because the songs are so catchy and so fun and so full of life. But then you also have people who now have kids, and then the Wiggles have resurfaced with this new era and kind of the ushering in of the era of the time. And you guys have obviously been through a few of those now. And so, I feel that is part of what really does set the Wiggles apart in this way, just the ability to develop an emotional connection with a generation that's constantly evolving. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about, what is it like to be educators in that sense, where you're educators to, multiple generations of kids, but also to children across cultures, becoming role models to them. And for many kids, I'm guessing, even probably being some of their first teachers.
I'm looking at you, Lockie.
Oh.
Lockie would be in
No, you're right. Yeah. Look, we take it incredibly seriously. We, a lot of the shows, the first show a child will go to is a Wiggles show with the big lights and the live music. So it's an incredible world that we make, and that we're so excited, I think, to get back to the States this coming year. And that's massive for the Wiggles. We haven't really done a tour that size for a long time. So we really do hope that the Wiggles can keep going so strong like it has for this amount of time. Anto.
I was just going to say, Olivia, that we have parents do come with their child, or even grandparents are coming with their grandchildren, and the grandparents were parents 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But what has been really rewarding for me and for all of us is when, say, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a child with autism or a child with Down syndrome comes and never gives up the Wiggles, and we get to know these incredible, they're now adults with autism or adults with Down syndrome, and we go around, tour around, and we meet these wonderful people and their parents, and they still have the connection, and it's one of the most beautiful. All of us can name people who we see all the time, come every year to the show, and they're like part of the Wiggle family.
Wow, that is really special. That actually, one of my cousins has Downs, and he is a lifelong Wiggler, and he's seen you countless times, watches you every day. You're really sort of a light to him. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Anthony. I want to go in a little bit of a different direction for this question, and going back to Lockie, you just mentioned the U.S. So I want to say a statistic that I think is crazy, and I know this was a few years ago, but I still think I want our audience watching to know this for those who don't. But you guys have a huge presence here in the U.S. And in 2003, you sold out 12 consecutive shows at Madison Square Garden, and you broke the previous record, which was held by Bruce Springsteen. And we love Bruce in this country. So that's pretty insane. I think our audience will be really blown away to hear that, for those that aren't as familiar with your story. But there's another part to your relationship with the U.S. that I want to talk about on a little bit of a more serious note. And that was your response to 9/11. And I had known a little bit about this, but I really became familiar when I saw the documentary. And I learned that the Wiggles was one of the only groups that would perform in New York following the attack. And I guess a lot of artists canceled shows, postponed. They didn't think that it was the right time to perform. And the Wiggles were, thinking about the kids and what could be done to help offer some relief during that time. So I know this goes a little bit further back, but I think it's a really interesting cultural moment, especially for our audience who our primary base is in New York. And so, I also just think, not to keep rambling, but I think this really exemplifies the Wiggles primary commitment sort of in doing what you guys do, which is, again, putting the children first, thinking about their needs, thinking about how they're kind of internalizing and responding to the world around them. So, Anthony, you're welcome to respond to this, but really for any of you, just reflecting on that moment and how the Wiggles handled that, choosing to play those shows. I would just love to hear, I guess it's not really a question, but I would love to hear kind of a little bit more of your thoughts on that. Do you think that there generally needs to be more thought given to children in situations like that, and how should it be given?
Yeah, Olivia, what casting my mind back when that terrible tragedy happened, and just feeling like when we were in Australia that we were so close to New York and America, and if you didn't live through that, what happened after 9/11 in televisions all around the world? You just kept seeing the same sight: the plane going into the building, people running around with horrific sights. Now, children were seeing that on the television constantly. And we thought we have to go over and, we got a bit of feedback that the only thing that is keeping the children away from looking at this is putting the Wiggles on the VHS. So we thought we have a responsibility to go over and entertain children. That's what we do. And there was a lot of safety concerns at the time. And we went over and we heard from a fire station that a young firefighter Canizero, had lost his life on 9/11. And we were only there a month later or 3 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing in New York, and he came, the widow, Jackie, came, and they had a whole row of seats of firefighters coming for firefighter Canizero, representing him. We were so heartbroken and amazed. We did a show then at the fire station. We went and did a show for all the firefighters and the families. And also Jackie, the widow, we arranged for her and her family to come out to Australia and get away from and have a holiday there, just because, away from constant reminders. We played the Macy's Day. We were participating in the Macy's Day parade, and it was, you have to cast your mind back. It was it was a real beautiful and defiant moment that Macy's Day parade went ahead. But there was so many safety concerns that we said to our cast, if anyone feels unsafe about being in this Macy's Day parade, you don't have to do it. And one of the girls who played Dorothy the dinosaur, and good luck to her, she said, look, I really don't feel safe, and if you don't mind, I'll sit it out. And of course we said that is no problem at all, because it was scary, it was scary, but scary for children, scary for parents. What was going to happen next? We felt we had to go, and we felt we had to provide something for children as an alternative to what they're seeing over and over. And I know Mr. Rogers did a beautiful show about it as well. So I guess we did what we had to do.
What Anthony's talking about now is that the routine needs to continue for a child. So putting the Wiggles on the VHS or getting the opportunity to go to the Wiggles show is so important to keep that level of routine for a child through any sort of trauma or traumatic events. And that's what the Wiggles did, knowingly or unknowingly at that time, to keep that sense of routine for a child and a normalcy through a really terrible time. And so it was really, really interesting to learn that the other day, of how important that is for a child.
Yeah, I love what you're doing with this podcast, and that you get to explore all of these really kind of pertinent topics to parenting, but also just sort of their lives outside of that, and how, you know, their lens can widen through hearing about these experiences through you both, through the experts. I honestly think people could benefit from this who aren't parents as well, just kind of gaining a little bit more empathy for other people's situations, and what people are going through. But I just wanted to add, I think, on the point of, you know, what you were saying about routine and not taking away what was important to, you know, the child's day to day and situations like that. I also think the Wiggles have something very particular in the sort of world that you guys have created. It's not just songs and content, but it's also, you know, it's that operating in tandem with an entire creative universe. And I think that's a big part of why kids are able to become and stay so immersed in what you do. So I just think that's an interesting piece of this. So I know that we are running out of time, so I would love to just take a couple of questions from our audience, if that would be okay, before we wrap. Let me just take a look at what was sent in. So let me actually start with this one. It's still on the subject of parenting, and we can maybe toss this to Simon and Lockie in the context of the podcast. But we have from an anonymous viewer, what is one element of parenting from when you first started performing with the Wiggles that you think should be emphasized more today? So maybe something that has been lost, you know, a value that that you think, you know, should be uplifted a little bit more. And, you know, and maybe I'll add, is that something that the Wiggles are focusing on as an educational goal?
Yeah, I think what has tended to happen, and I've experienced it too now being a parent, is because of all the distractions we have in our world now with all our devices and everything, that it's sometimes we forget to just be present in the moment with our child, and whatever that moment may be, and to put everything aside and just to focus on you and your child in that moment and not have all those distractions. And I think we can get so distracted these days that sometimes we forget that we're not as present as we should be with our children. And that's, I think, something the Wiggles can bring with the music and everything, and brings people together, brings families together. So it could be on that level, but just to put your devices away, they can wait and actually play and be present with your children.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like that kind of, sorry, Lucky. I was just going to say, I feel like that really goes hand in hand with what we were saying earlier about interactive play and engaging the parents or carers in the actual process of, you know, being entertained by the Wiggles content.
Absolutely. What's something that has come up every single guest that we've had on the podcast is the concept of being like truly connected. And if you're from having a moment with your child where it might take a little bit longer, but actually stopping and connecting, and whether you're trying to discipline in a moment or you're just trying to actually connect with them and enjoy a moment, is to do it that way. And I think, you know, we've just started filming again in Wiggletown. I think we've actually, now that I think of it, doing that more too, just naturally. I think connecting with the camera probably more than we have really, you know, looking down the lens and talking to that single child watching the show. And that's what's so nice about the Wiggles. We don't edit really fast, flashy. It's not changing every 2 seconds and kids sit there going, wow, what is happening? We take the time and talk to kids like a parent would. I think that's what's come across in every guest we've had. So that's definitely a big thing at the moment, I think, worldwide, is that idea of connecting.
Yeah. Well, I'll also just add, I love that. I love how much your content emphasized connection and also this sort of togetherness. One of the first Wiggle and Learn videos that I saw was the friendship video that really focuses on closeness and being together. And I really appreciate that these messages are not just things that children need to hear, but sometimes they're things that we forget as adults and need to be reminded of. So I just have two more questions, if that's okay. One is for Anthony, and I have to ask this because my dad sent this in. He said, Anthony, you and Jeff, one of the other original Wiggles, were in a rock band together called the Cockroaches. I know that you were referencing this earlier. That was well known in its own right. How did you transition from that experience to making a record for kids? Were you drawing on something in particular from the music that you'd been making that translated well to the context of writing for children?
Yeah, and your dad's great question. Really, the good thing about the Cockroaches, they were like a 60s surf band that played very catchy. The music and the Wiggles music, it's pretty well the same. It's just the lyrical content is different.
Yeah.
The Cockroaches sang about love as in boy meets girl, boy breaks up with girl, girl breaks up with boy, all that sort of stuff, heartbreak. We never sing about that in the Wiggles. We sing about, hot potatoes. Can you point your fingers to this? But it's the same music. So it really helped. And on a practical side, having experience in the record industry really helped me understand you know what you're doing best with your group. And the Wiggles having early childhood education background, we could say to the record company, we understand this, we know what we're doing here. So it was a good experience to have before we went into the Wiggles.
Wow. That's great. Just to kind of prime people for what's coming, what is coming up for the Wiggles? And is there anything that you're all particularly excited about in terms of performances or collaborations, especially given the upcoming tour?
Come on, Luch. So high.
Come on, girl.
Okay. Well, next June and July, we're touring the USA and Canada and the UK. We're starting in Vancouver. We go everywhere. Texas, California,
LA, everywhere.
Indianapolis, and we finish in Canada, but we're basically doing all over America. We've only really done a small portion of America before. We're so excited. Half these places I've never even heard of, so I'm very excited. And look, we've got a lot of collaborations coming up as well. As Anthony mentioned before, country album is in the works, which is very exciting. You'll be very shocked to see what we're coming up with, especially Lockie, taking the reins.
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. We are so excited to have you here in the US. So, and also I know you're playing the King's Theater in Brooklyn, which is one of my favorite venues here. It's beautiful. It's like, it looks regal. It's the perfect venue for you all. So it's exciting.
Right.
Yes, Simon.
Yeah, just on that, we are so excited to come back to the US because it's been since before COVID was the last time we came. But on top of that, we've, Lockie, of course, we keep talking about country, which he's very excited about. But we're also now in production of a new TV series, Ready, Steady, Wiggle 7. So that's a whole new TV series we're creating off the back of Wiggle and Learn, which we spoke about earlier, the 100th album. So there's as always, there's a lot of different things going on in Wiggletown, but it's all very exciting. We're having a wonderful time.
Well, we are so excited to see what you're putting together. Let's move over to closing announcements quickly, and then we'll come back and we'll say an official goodbye to you all. We are a nonprofit. We survive off of your support. Please consider donating to our mission. You can scan the QR code on your phone. You can also go to folks.org/donate and make a contribution there to continue supporting our programming. We would also encourage you to sign up for emails if you're not already. This is a great way to get our content and updates delivered right to you, so make sure to register on our website if you haven't. And there's the QR code there on screen. You can scan it on your phone, or you can also visit the website at folks.org. Wow, it's really been a pleasure speaking with the five of you. I know that the world already loves you, but I think it could even use a little bit more of you today. So I hope people will come find you on your upcoming tour and tune into all of the exciting content updates that you have coming. And of course, the podcast with Lockie and Simon and guest appearances from Anthony. And I just hope everyone keeps following you on your incredible journey. So thank you, Anthony, Simon, Lockie, Tsehay, and Lucia. And thank you to our audience watching at home. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Olivia. Thank
So
you.
much.
Thank you. And that's a wrap from FOLCS. See you all at the next one.